Welcome to the Spotlight Series. I'm your host, Scott Nerney. It's Tuesday night. We're here at the Cowesett Inn. Stop in about 5, 6 o'clock at night. Most nights we're shooting on Tuesday nights, and grab a bite to eat and join the crowd. With me tonight is Christian D. Rezendes from Breaking Branches Pictures, continuing our series of local storytellers, filmmakers in the Rhode Island area. Welcome. That seat's been taken up by a lot of friends of yours, and I'm interested to hear what you're working on. Give us a little background of yourself.
Sure. Where do I start? I've been a filmmaker ever since I can remember, probably a long, long time ago. I've done a lot of documentary and narrative pieces, mostly documentary. I would like to get back into narratives, but the thing that's preoccupied me for the last 12 years for the most part is the series Slatersville, America's First Mill Village. The first season premiered on Rhode Island PBS last fall, and that was the first 5 episodes, and it did very well, and now we're in the middle of completing the second and final season, which will be 6 episodes, and that will air sometime in 2024.
So when you say the difference, narrative versus documentary, so narrative, you're taking someone else's story and telling it?
So with narrative, I mean like fictional pieces.
Okay.
With actors, scripts, that kind of a thing. And with documentaries,
Factual and...
Right. So I've done some narrative work, not as much as I would have liked to, but I keep being pulled back into documentaries, probably because...
Because you're good at it?
Yeah, maybe. I like the challenge of it. I'm more fascinated by that, putting it all together, putting all the puzzle pieces together, and telling a story that way, almost with kind of like a found objects kind of mentality behind it. So, but that's been my focus on this for the last 12 years. So when this project ends, there might be a little bit of a break. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do next, but taking a different path, like a 180-degree turn to do a narrative would be something that I might look into.
So if there's a person out there with a great idea or just the beginnings of a sketch of an idea, they should contact you?
Don't want to leave it that wide open.
Okay.
I'm definitely open to ideas.
Sure.
It takes a lot for me to really love an idea and really want to stick with it. So it has to have a real sticking power first. But who knows? I mean, I remain open. I can't, just say no outright.
So tell us a little more about America's First Mill Village in Slatersville, the project that you've put together. PBS has really got a lot of great reviews on it. Tell us, how did that come to be? How did you get attracted to it?
Well, I first tried to do a film about the village in late 2004, early 2005, somewhere in there. And I had already started shooting the mill many years before that. I shot some stuff around that time because the mill was up for rehab and the town was trying to make decisions over saving it. Came back to it, I'm jumping through a lot here, came back to it about the end of 2011. And in 2012 we started filming, and it got restarted because at the time the National Park Service was interested in creating a Blackstone River Valley National Historical Park. And the different towns had wanted to start things. Initially I was going to work with my town, and that changed. And so they said, we'll work with you. They were going to hire me, I mean. And then they said, we'll work with you in cooperation, but you have to fund it yourself. So that's what happened. We got that going, but then by about 2015, what happened is that we had done so much historical research and uncovered so many things that we really realized how that this was a huge story. You're going backwards, telling a story that's over 200 years old. So you're not going to be able to absorb the entire layout of this right away, especially if you interview a bunch of people about different eras. There's the 19th century and then there's the 20th century. And so what we started doing immediately, a little bit in 2005, but definitely in 2012, we started interviewing the people who were older and had life experience in the village, either by working in the mill or just living in it, however, and capturing their words and stories and their voices, and moving along it that way. So we kind of worked backwards in getting to know the story in a way. And so that's why all these years later, we've interviewed over 150 people on camera and 26 have passed away.
Wow.
My oldest was 105 that I interviewed. So
yeah, I want to applaud you because the pieces that I've looked at, it wasn't just looking at a Wikipedia page and realizing, oh, this was a Slaterville and it was a mill, or it wasn't a hour-and-a-half lesson that you'd see in a history class talking about Rhode Island. This is a big piece. It encompasses a lot. The guests that you'd brought on to talk to, the experts, the in many cases first, maybe secondhand knowledge of their direct families. It's amazing. You've done a really great job of not leaving questions out there. And there's got to be a few moments where you're going down a path and all of a sudden it goes sideways. You're saying, oh, I mean, that to me, that's how it felt.
well, a lot of the time, yeah. And again, if I took a time machine back to 2012, 2013, and they said, by the time you end this thing, it's going to look like this, I would have had myself committed. Okay, because it'd been like, no, you're full of it. There's no way this is going to be this. But it was. And yeah, it did lead down a path of, oh, now we have to interview this person. Oh, now we need this piece of information. But the whole time it had to stick to the spine of it. And there are tangents. We do go into Connecticut. We do go into Lowell, Mass. We do go into England and South Carolina and these different places. But that's because they're pertinent to the story.
Right.
And so, of course, you have to interview somebody from over there and so on. So the fact that you have to go off the rails a bit is necessary, but there is sort of like a policing in your mind, like, oh, wait, don't go. If we have to go all the way over there, then it has to be for a very specific reason. So we went through a lot of that.
And how was PBS reacted when they saw the finished season 1? When they knew it wasn't a finished story.
No, so originally I was contracted for fewer episodes and I was going to deliver the whole thing at once. And then we realized that as the editing progressed, it was just going to take longer to tell. And so they were open to that. And they said they couldn't air all 11 or 12 at the time, considered at, week after week because it was too long a period. So I said, well, let's split it into 2 seasons. And so they were open and receptive to that. I'm very grateful for that. So they aired the first 5. And so I thought I could deliver the second season for this fall. But the problem is that it's kind of like surgery. It's like you think you know what's wrong, and then when you're in mid-surgery, you open up something, you're like, oh man, wait a second. Wait, I'm going to need this? Okay, wait a second. What do I do? And when there's like 12 of those, you realize you need more time than you expected, and I should have probably known better. But in any event, I'm not going to compromise the integrity of the whole thing just to rush it.
Yeah.
So we are aiming for a 2024 release, and we'll see what that brings us. But so far, I mean, I work on it every day. So far, looking at season 2 now, I'm very pleased with how it's shaping up.
Great. So what years do you expect? You're really encompassing the start of the Mill Village to what we have, if you were to go there today, kind of the legacy that it's brought. You'll bring it full circle?
Yes. Well, one of the peaks of the whole story is 2004-05 when they rehabbed the mill. But yes, we do show how things have progressed. It's not only Slatersville isn't only America's first Slatersville isn't only America's first pre-planned mill village, but it sort of is symbolic for the story of the Blackstone Valley. There are countless villages throughout the Blackstone Valley, but we're just telling the story of this one because it's the first and because I can personalize it. It's very important that it be personalized, otherwise it's just a boring history thing, and I didn't want to make it dull. I mean, I need emotional investment from people, and I need to hook an audience. And bringing them full circle to that understanding of what this all means, not only just for your local history in your backyard, but the bigger picture. This thing was never done just for a Slatersville audience or a Rhode Island audience.
Sure.
It was done for anybody watching it anywhere that could identify with the universal themes throughout it.
Well, and that mill village is a pop-up mill village that could have been in any country.
Yes.
Other than the language. I mean, there's a lot of it there. And when you say you want to hook the audience, I think we have a clip we're going to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look.
When I first filmed the abandoned mill at the center of my hometown, I had no intention of ever making a film about it. That was a while ago. But when it came time to actually start, I had no idea what I was about to find.
In 1805, Mr. Samuel Slater, with his brother John, passed through all this region, prospecting for the site of a mill. Many of you here today have the place in your mind's eye. But to the rest of us, the outlines being given, we have to fill out the picture for ourselves.
I didn't know that I would have to learn the whole story backwards.
Everything has a beginning.
And I really didn't know why the Slaters had left town, or that we would get to know their descendants.
A lot of this history is cut out.
Or that people just didn't want to talk about stuff.
I'm not sure why.
Wealthier men are putting the brakes on it. They don't want to discuss this.
Or how the man who inherited it had a real problem with
chasing women.
Or discover Slater family letters that had been locked away for
60 or 70 years.
That was hidden away for generations.
Or the good and not so good ways they spent their fortunes.
This is a lot of money.
History is about the choices you make.
How they treated their workers.
All he needed were hands, children.
And forever altered the landscape of America.
They thought about every aspect of this thing.
And that the very man who started it all
was a traitor.
And I think you should tell the truth.
I had no idea how far we would go, who we would meet, and who we would lose along the way, or where our music would be played. And most of all, I never thought it would be a series.
Without knowing where you've been, how can you gauge where you're going to go?
So I think that hooks the audience a little bit. We don't want to give away too much, but I think that really does show what we're looking at and what the audience can expect, and a lot more for season 2.
Yep.
What's next on the horizon? I know you said you were open to other things. Is there anything percolating that you want to kind of talk about?
There are ideas of what I could do, but to be honest, after 12 years of working on this, it's just so massive that I'm like, you know what, there's this beast in front of me. There are 6 more episodes. I just have to get it done.
Yeah.
It's going to be very climactic, and then after that, I'm going to experience some postpartum something, and then I'm just going to sit there for a little while. I can probably breathe a little bit, but I won't be able to do that for too long, knowing myself. So I'm going to be like, okay, what comes next? There are some ideas, but I can't. We'll see what happens. You know, sometimes one thing I've learned is at the moment I think I know what I'm doing. something else is put in front of me, and so I'm like, oh, well, we're going in that direction now.
That's why it's easy for me. I just show up on Tuesday and talk to great talented people like you, and a lot of it I don't have to decide what I want to do. Guys like you come every time, and we have great conversation. You've done a lot more than just Slatersville. You've had other series that you've worked on. If you want to mention those, people can go check those out as well.
Sure. I think about 9 years ago now, there was a feature-length documentary that came out called Raising Maddie Christian. It runs under 90 minutes. You can see it on Amazon. It's about a young man born without full limbs. And so that did pretty well on the festival circuit. And there are other shorts that I directed. Memories for Sale is one. Fred and Emil is a documentary short that goes along with that, which is about the first gay couple married in Lowell, Massachusetts to older men. And then Memories for Sale is along the themes of elderly gay, elderly LGBT community kind of thing. But Fred and Emil aired on WGBH last summer in Boston, so that was cool. And and many years ago, because I have to say this because we're across the street, but I directed a documentary feature called 41, which is about the youngest victim of the Station nightclub fire. And that gets airplay generally every anniversary of the fire, and on Rhode Island PBS again. And Chris O'Neill and I, Chris is the brother of the youngest victim, Nick O'Neill. We're going to revisit that for a little bit of tweaking soon, probably after Slatersville is done. So there are things I'm interested in.
Yeah.
I have a son who's on the autism spectrum, so I'm interested in that topic. I'm 100% Portuguese, so I'm interested in that topic. Music, and a variety of different things historically and other ideas I have. And so whether it be a narrative or a documentary, I'd like to explore the narrative route again, as I said. So, we'll see.
Weekend off and then back at it.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be like Monday's morning's going to hit like after that completion. It's going to be like, okay, what now? But actually, we're planning an educational curriculum plan. We're putting that together for the series and trying to get it into schools from elementary through college.
That'd be great.
So that's happening as a side project too, that incorporates a lot of people from National Park Service to the Heritage Corridor to the Tourism Council to the Rhode Island Historical Society. So we're working with a lot of people. Slatersville isn't a project that just like ends when it's done. It's like, okay, 11 hours, see you later. This was done for educational purposes.
It's ultimately a kickoff to explain what you don't know.
Right. And so if it can inspire people, and it's just one village, even though, as I said earlier, it's tangential and it goes into different places. It's just one village. Imagine if there was a film about every single village within the Blackstone Valley and the rich history that's here. That would be amazing. So it could inspire others to do the same about their own families and their own towns' histories.
So if people want to see other works that you've done or things that we've mentioned, where would they find more information about you and your group?
Well, let's see. 41 we just put up on Vimeo for free. So we just did that, the old version of it. Raising Maddie Christian's on Amazon. And Slatersville's on PBS. If you have the PBS app, you can go there and watch it. And I have a bunch of older shorts that are online. If you go searching for them on YouTube or Vimeo, you'll see them.
Okay.
Look me up on IMDb if you want to see a particular title.
There's the links.
It's out there somewhere.
Okay. Well, we're looking forward to. We'll wait about a year. We'll see season 2.
Yep.
Wish you a lot of luck with it and your future endeavors. We're huge fans.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.